Good evening. Next Thursday, Microsoft launches what it hopes will be an all-time blockbuster, the latest Windows operating system, Windows 2000. It comes at a critical time for the world's largest corporation. In the US, the competition authorities have charged Microsoft with sharp practice and unfair trading. As a penalty for these alleged misdeeds, they're threatening to break up the company. Then last week, the EU announced an investigation into Windows 2000, following complaints that its design could extend Microsoft's dominance into new areas like the internet and e-commerce. But, as Michael Robinson now reports, the most serious threat to Microsoft may not be from the regulators, but from real competition.
It was 4 years in the making. Thousands worked on its design. It cost $5 billion. Microsoft is preparing for next week's launch of Windows 2000. The company says it must succeed.
Windows 2000 is a watershed for Microsoft. I mean, basically we're betting the future of the company on it. It's absolutely critical for us to be able to move Microsoft much more into the core of helping companies run their businesses today.
This week, IT managers gathered at Microsoft's UK headquarters to discuss the technical details.
So from what you heard from the presentations today, that's going to work?
I think it could work in that if we can get down the administration costs, that's where the key is.
IT professionals have to decide whether to buy the new program. It's a serious decision, because Windows 2000 is a new operating system, replacing Windows 95 and 98. An operating system is the most important program on any computer, the basic software which makes everything else function or crash. Previous Microsoft operating systems haven't been famous for stability.
A huge thing that customers demand is reliability. They can't afford any kind of system downtime, and Windows 2000 is hugely more reliable than any operating system Microsoft has had in the marketplace before.
And that's important.
That is critical to businesses, especially if you're looking at e-commerce or doing transactions over the web. You cannot afford, if your website is down, you're losing money.
In America, Microsoft's supremacy in the market for PC operating systems has been deemed unfair by the Department of Justice, and the company now faces the threat of being broken up. Ironically, though, that's all happening while real new alternatives to Microsoft software are finally emerging. Microsoft's overwhelming domination of the PC market has led to it being accused by American regulators of using its power to crush competition and squeeze more profit out of consumers. But while it's been battling these allegations, Microsoft has also been facing dramatic new competition in its key operating systems business. Competition not from some other computer giant, but from thousands of computer programmers across the world cooperating via the internet to write new, powerful operating systems that anyone can use for free. Last week, at a New York trade fair for Linux, the operating system produced by this unusual international cooperation, enthusiasts crowded in to meet their hero, the man who started Linux up and who's happy to have made next to nothing from it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Linus Torvalds.
9 years ago, as a student in Finland, the originator of Linux established the basis for the operating system named after him. Linus Torvalds is still only 29.
The real point of Linux has always been to make something that is nice to use and where people actually can control what they're using. And that's actually something that even very commercial companies should strive for.
Linux isn't just free, it's flexible and reliable, and that's attracting business users. At stand after stand at the same New York Expo, Linux was proclaimed as far better for business than Microsoft.
Pop quiz, everybody, look at here.
Turbo Linux Server 6.0 and Turbo Linux Workstation 6.0.
Most hardcore Linux enthusiasts revere their movement's non-commercial, cooperative ethic and despise the encryption and secrecy Microsoft uses to protect the codes of its commercial programs.
You will find a lot of people who explain very loudly that it's against all Microsoft stands for, it's against other commercial companies. And I think that is still a fairly loud, but it's a minority that at least for me and for the people I tend to respect and work with, it's really not anti kind of traditional corporation. It's more of a way of saying, this is how we think it should be done, this is fun, this generates better programs in the first place, and okay, if you don't want to believe us, then it's not our problem, it's your decision to make.
Linux's open philosophy makes it attractive to commercial users. The company which was once the biggest in the computer business, IBM, is already using it and predicts that the use of Linux will spread dramatically.
Look at where the internet was 5 years ago and look at what it is today. I mean, who would have thought then that the internet would become the force that it has become? Those are the same hopes we have for Linux, that by virtue of being open and being able to move applications around easily, it could be as big a force for the future of the IT industry as the internet has been and will continue to be.
Linux has found its way to the most unusual places. In rural mid-Wales, dozens of remote, scattered communities already benefit from the efforts of the Linux programmers. Towns like Llanwrtyd Wells, the smallest in Britain, are now linked cheaply to the rest of the world by Linux.
It's a problem facing many of the rural counties that you want to put the technology in. You'd love to do things on the kind of scale that you can see in larger urban areas, but obviously we can't do that. So we're looking to work very closely, finding any way we can to actually deliver affordable introductions to technology in the community.
So the cost matters here?
Cost is very important to us indeed.
In what was once the branch of a high street bank is now Llanwrtyd's community telecentre.
Oh, hello. Hello. You come to look at your email? Right, there you go.
The PCs here run familiar Microsoft programs, so there's a license to pay on each machine.
Can you remember how to open it up?
Yes, I can.
Though hardly anyone here knows it, tucked away in the broom cupboard, the free Linux operating system is running the Telecentre's server, the device which connects it with the rest of the internet world. Nearly 30% of internet servers already use Linux.
If we were buying a database server from Microsoft, we'd be looking at perhaps £500 to buy the software. We'd then be looking at a licensing cost of perhaps £100 for each additional PC on the network. So even in a small place like this, we're talking about over £1,000 saving.
For Powys Council, based 20 miles away, there's another advantage. With Linux, problems in the telecentres can usually be fixed down the line, saving hours of travel for the IT team. With Microsoft's Windows NT, Nick says that'd be harder.
Well, you can do more or less anything you want to do with most computer systems eventually, but the key thing about using Linux is that it's enabled us to select components which we can build together to make a system that does exactly what we want. With NT, we could very well have achieved some of these things, but not without the expense of additional software, with the expense of additional modules, and even then we might have got a system that didn't actually deliver exactly what we wanted.
Across the Severn in Bristol, one of Britain's biggest insurance brokers runs a network connecting 250 high street branches.
Morning, Shirley. I'd just like to pay my bill. Thank you.
This entire system is now powered by Linux.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hillhouse Hammond says Linux was easy to tailor to their in-house computer programs, has proved extremely reliable, and was far quicker to install than Microsoft's Windows NT.
With NT, it would have taken us the best part of 6 hours per branch. With Linux, we're able to do that in just under 10 minutes per branch. And with 250 branches, that's a good saving.
Why is that important?
It was important in that we could switch over from our previous systems over to the new systems in a matter of months.
The same in-house computer programs are used in the broker's busy call centre, but here they're running on Windows NT, not Linux. That's because team leaders need Microsoft Office applications like spreadsheets or word processors, and Microsoft applications don't run on Linux.
In the call centre, each of our teams is led by a manager. To do their job effectively, they need spreadsheets, word processor and planning tools. And for that, we choose Windows NT.
Aren't there spreadsheets and word processors for Linux?
Well, yes, there are some of those emerging for Linux, but until they're proven, we'll stick with Windows NT.
And if they are proven?
Well, of course we'll look at them.
Because Microsoft offers a wide and popular range of business applications, most companies buy Microsoft Windows operating systems for their PCs. It's also why most independent software is designed to run on Windows.
That business model has so far been extremely successful, both for Microsoft and for its customers. And we believe with products like Office 2000, Windows 2000 and soon to come Exchange 2000, that business model is exactly right and what our customers want us to continue to do in terms of supporting and testing these very powerful software applications going into the future.
Back at the Linux Expo, among the Linux Penguin mascots, new applications are rapidly appearing.
All kinds of applications running on all kinds of platforms.
New companies are now basing their businesses entirely on providing technical backup for Linux users. Red Hat is among the most successful. When it floated last year, it was valued at $10 billion. Red Hat encourages software companies to produce for Linux.
We have seen tremendous growth in the number of applications. I think there's almost 3,000 applications running on Linux. And major applications, major database products, major accounting products, and more are being ported every day. And that's what we do. We try to help companies write applications and optimize them.
Most Linux applications cost far less than their Microsoft equivalents. But the Californian computer giant Sun Microsystems has gone further. It's now giving away a lookalike of the Microsoft Office program, which it claims is compatible and just as good.
This is the Star Office CD that we're presenting today for free, and it's very similar to Office in as far as creating documents, spreadsheets.
So my friends who don't still use evil Microsoft Word, and they send me a Word document, I can...
Not a problem.
Not a problem.
But the threat Linux poses to Microsoft's present domination of the PC market is nothing compared to the competition Microsoft is going to face from systems like Linux in the fast-approaching world of computing via the internet. For most of us, the PC's box with its processor and hard disk storage hidden away inside is the center of our computing activities. We buy a new program and we load it into the box. We download something from the internet and we store it in the box. We create a new document and we save it in the box. But the rise of the internet means that the traditional PC model, the foundation of Microsoft's strength and power, is about to be dramatically undermined. The PC box may soon be replaced by the internet. Oracle is the second largest software company after Microsoft. It's been in the forefront of the move to internet computing. Oracle's UK managing director showed me how it works.
Well, let me give you an example. I'm going to try and enter my expenses, taxi receipt, onto my expenses. Now, the important thing to recognize is I'm only using this laptop as an input device. Enter taxi, £7.20, and off we go and enter.
Where is that actually saved, that information?
Well, that is not in my PC. That sits in a centralized data center in the USA, and all that information, therefore, is available immediately to the company so that it can use that information to analyze its expenses and the trends involved.
And how are you connected to that big data center in California?
Well, by the internet, of course.
There are advantages for individuals from internet computing. Centrally stored data can be accessed from anywhere.
Let me just show you. Just sit down here a moment.
Well, here in the foyer, no PCs around?
None at all. All we have is a mobile phone.
The phone is a new kind which can connect directly to the internet.
I've scrolled to expenses.
Okay.
I press that. It says view expenses.
Right.
Then off we go. We have the date of the expense. Right. We have the code, which is taxi in this case, and there you are, £7.20.
And this is coming from that central data store?
Exactly.
Oracle believes for internet computing, operating systems like Linux have the edge over Microsoft.
Clearly, Linux is starting up well. It's coming from the point of view that they have openness. It's coming from the point of view of free in many cases, and it's coming from the point of view of having the source code available. And that seems, for me, for businesses, to be a great advance over what's available at the moment.
So how's Microsoft going to compete with that?
It's going to be difficult, I would have thought, in the way that they do business.
There's now fierce competition over which operating system the emerging range of portable internet devices will use. No one yet dominates this new market. Insurance brokers Hillhouse Hammond are experimenting with using desktop internet to access their company's central database. They found they don't need expensive PCs at all. All it takes is a simple internet browser.
We're using these new stations. They'll do everything that you need to do on a browser, and they'll connect to our current systems as well.
And what do they cost?
About 4 times less than a standard PC.
And is there any Microsoft Windows software on that little black box?
No, none at all. It's got no moving parts. It's just a cut-down device for running browsers and looking at our existing systems.
So your browsers are bad news for Microsoft then? They're going to be buying. You're going to be buying less of their software.
Good news for us.
But Microsoft plans to fight back aggressively. The company has a vision of an internet-driven world with one or other version of their Windows operating systems running on every device.
When you start to see how Windows is being developed, and our vision for Windows is that we need to make it available all the time. We need to make it support across a huge number of different types of devices. And we need to make it very, very easy for all sorts of users, as well as incredibly powerful for it to be able to run whole companies on it. And that's very, very interesting and unique about the way that the vision of Windows goes.
We've moved Linux from being a...
Though Linux is also continually improving through its network of volunteer programmers, compared with Microsoft, its market penetration is still modest. But true believers are convinced that won't last forever.
Microsoft is a large company. They're doing really well, no question about that. They're in the same situation that IBM was in 15 years ago. And IBM hasn't gone anywhere, right? IBM is still there. IBM is a huge company. It's a very important company, but not like it was. It's not leading the charge. It's there helping the bigger charge of creating this world economy kind of thing. And Microsoft has been leading the charge. They may be doing that for a few more years. It's very clear that nothing like that ever lasts forever.
It's still unclear how badly Linux's disparate army of enthusiasts will be able to dent Microsoft's present domination of the operating systems market. But regulators on both sides of the Atlantic are determined to ensure that the coming competitive fight is a fair one.
Michael Robinson reporting. And if you want a general guide to internet sites providing information on the operating systems in that film, you can get it by emailing a request to factsheet@bbc.co.uk. Now a brief look at some of the other stories.